call?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So it's Oceanografia on the call.
Yes, Oceanografia the call.
I'm asking, is Oceanografia, is Mr. Amado Yanes present on the call at this moment? This is Pareto calling. We are wondering when to start, and we cannot start until Oceanografia, when Mr. Amado Yanes is actually on the call, right? It's a yes or no question, man. We'll just wait a little bit until we hear Amado, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone else, please.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Oceanografia conference call we're holding for request from Mr. Amado Yanes, so that we can start. Guys, can you please mute?
Hello?
Bueno, Amado, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, welcome, it's Bjorn here. I think we have about 25 other people on the call at the moment. They're all muted.
Just a reminder, today's conference is being recorded.
And of course it's been recorded. Now, I think the way to do it, I'm sure that you have prepared a statement, I assume.
Yes.
So I suggest, if that's all right with you, because as you know, we had some questions already, that you read the statement, and then I, on behalf of our investors, ask the pre-sent questions. How does that sound for you?
Sounds good to me.
All right, go ahead, man.
Good morning, everybody. This is Amado Yanes, CEO of Oceanografia. I have corporate in Cancun, which is public financial relations. We'd like to start by giving you a statement. In the last week, there's been some allocations being published in an article in a newspaper in Mexico. As of today, we are only aware of one audit, which is regarding some bonds that we issued, in which the audit, they asked us to answer what we thought about the audit and the stuff that they found. We answered those information back in December, and that's what we have officially. As of today, we don't know of any other type of investigation we're not aware of this contract that they allege that we did more than we supposed to. So the rest of the stuff that has been in the public, in the publication, is something that we don't have anything officially, nor have we been notified, nor have we been told. So that's basically the answer. We're ready to take any questions that you may like at this point.
Thank you. Now, before we open the floor, we have some questions that have been sent in already. So I'll just on behalf of the investors, I'll read those, and you can respond when I think someone managed to stop recording it. Hope that is fair. All right, thank you. Yeah. Now, the first question I think you actually answered about the Conferencia and investigation. So I think the second one, what is the change in the Pemex law this reported in the newspaper that has created the confusion? And do you know?
Well, what we do know is that there is a new Pemex law that was brought into effect in 2010, which was the first Pemex law that went into 2010 into effect. And they started with a new procedure in that year. Obviously, that new law that was effective in 2010, they obviously changed with this new law that was passed. So we don't know what the procedures will be in the next new law. But like any new law, there's always interpretation, there's always new procedures, there's always things to do. One of the issues that we have in that new law, in the confusion, is that on the bond issues. Previously, Pemex on the previous law had asked you only to down 10% of the fiscal year. So kind of multi-annual contract, which was 3 years. Yeah, I got those tangled. Okay, so the confusion that we have in that new law was the bonds were required in the previous law to be issued 10% of the fiscal year that you were going to execute if you had a multi-annual contract. Within the new law, the requirement was that you have to have 10% of the total value of the contract as a bond. So when the new law went into effect, what they asked us is they asked us to rebond the contracts. And that's what basically we did. So there's a time period there that when we were audited, the bonds were only covered 10% of 1 year. And they were not covered for the full amount of the contract. So that's what the audit that we had, or they found of an issue in none of our contracts.
Okay, just ask a follow-on question to that. So for this particular bond that they found, when does this date back to?
2010.
So this goes all the way back to 2010 and was for a limited period of time?
That's correct. There were some of the non-contracts, some of them 2 months, some of them 3 months when they were not all full all during that period.
So with the risk of really jumping ahead of it, of the question, but because it's really coincidence. So the new bond, so when you rebonded and cleared this up, was this cleared up already in 2010?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, they were all cleared up at that point. And one issue is there that we're not the ones that issued the requirements for the bond. That's a Pemex internal issue. So the mistake was actually done by Pemex, not by us.
Oh, okay. Now, so to move on, how long is this review or investigation expected to take? That's ongoing right now.
Let's be clear in one topic. We get audited a lot of our contracts by the control board. That's a normal procedure. They pick and choose and they audit it. Since we are one of the biggest contractors to Pemex, obviously we get a percentage of contracts audited every year. This is not a one-sided investigation. It's not an investigation. It's a normal procedure of audits that we get done every year to 7% of our contracts. So this goes on every year. So it's
being audited
not
all
a
the time.
surprise, not an, excuse me?
Sorry, continue.
So it's not out of this, something that is not only directed to our company, it's not an investigation, it's something that we did wrong, nothing like that. It's just a normal procedure audits that any company and I'm assuming, because I obviously know in other parts of the world, any company that works for the government gets audited any type of contracts to make sure that they did everything by the book. And that's kind of the reviews we get. And we've been getting this for the last 20 years.
So when it relates to contract modifications, I think we've moved on from the bond now. Are there a lot of others that are accused of similar contract modifications? And if so, which others, and for what amount?
Well, I'm not. I would say I'm not aware of the other audits of other companies. That's kind of private between the other companies and the internal audits of Phoenix. What we do know off the record is that yes, there's other companies that have the same issues, and they're under review as well. So we don't see any. And I go back. The company has nothing wrong. It's basically a procedure where it's an administrative fault by some of the Phoenix officials. What I heard, and I don't have a paper to back it, but there's around 45 companies that have the same issue with the bonds.
25.
35.
35. When it comes to the contracts, and I think this question probably relates to how many contracts are or were under review by the Minister of Public Function and at the moment in all, and how many of those, as you know, related to oceanography?
Well, I don't know how many they're reviewing, and I'm not aware. Let's give you an idea. They don't come to my office and audit my contracts here at my office. They go to PMEX and audit PMEX. And then when they audit PMEX and they find something wrong, that's when they get us involved and they ask us, hey, I need you to give me this information. We found this out. We need you to give me your backup and the documentation. And that's how we find out that they've been audited by contract. But as far as we're concerned, it's an internal audit that they do to all their contracts or whichever contracts they pick and choose. But we're not notified and says, listen, we're auditing this many contracts, we're auditing your contracts, we're auditing this guy's contract. We just don't know. What we do know is that they do have an internal audit procedures, and they do have a committee to audit internal contracts. Which ones they do, is they the ones that decide, it's not us.
I think that should ask a follow-up question to that, even though it wasn't reasonable. Now, I think, could you expand a little bit? As far as we understand, sometimes we have a contract with Pemex and it expires before the work with Pemex is finished. You ask to continue to work. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Is this what this relates to, this contract? And could you explain how common this is?
No, it doesn't relate to that. There is in the article, it mentions some of that in some of those contracts. We're not aware, I'll go back to the same thing. We haven't been notified, and we're not aware of any situation on those contracts. It came out on the newspaper. We try to find out. We do have a meeting on Thursday with the controller of Pemex to see if there's an investigation on those contracts or not, what's going on. We don't have any information whether there's a investigation on those contracts or not. All we do know is it came out on the newspaper saying that they were under investigation. I don't know who leaked it, but it's not an oceanography investigation. I want to reiterate that. It's
so you don't know if it's accurate.
That's correct. I don't know. The only ones that I do know is those 9 contracts that we were notified, and they asked us for the documentation on the bonds. That if we issue those bonds, I do know they checked with the bond company whether those bonds were real or not. I know about a bunch of stuff that they did. So, and they asked us to answer those bonds on what happened on that bond, that we didn't bond it for a whole contract instead of just bonding it for one period. So we did answer all that. That's the only thing that we do know, and that's the only thing that we've been notified by the controller for.
All right, well, I think that answers the next question as well, which contracts have been deemed irregular and problematic. Now, could you, I'm sure I read the questions already, is it possible for you to actually provide the details of which contract is involved? Like when they started, when they were and how
in the ones of the 9 contracts that were asking us on the bonds?
Yeah?
Sure. We'll publish it on the internet.
You put it on the website. Okay, thank you. Now, the second, I think, we sort of, the next question, I think you probably partly answered, but what was the process? You might have to repeat yourself a little bit there to make sure that everyone gets the questions answered. What was the process followed for the increase in the Pemex contract? I think that by increase you mean elongation. And the 3.25 billion of increases, how are they justified? How are they justified or approved by Pemex?
Well, we do know that Pemex has authority to increase a Pemex contract up to 10 years. And the amount of money is decided per committees. One committee, a local committee has authority to increase a contract up to $100 million. Then the next committee goes to the Director of Pemex Exploration and Production, which is a committee that approves up to $200 million. And then the one that has unlimited authorization to increase a contract is the Director of Pemex. That's the 3 procedures that we know to increase in contract from its original value. The law basically stipulates that it's a 10-year, they can only increase it up to 10 years, no more than that.
And after that, they have to put out a public tender, or?
That's correct. So there's an internal procedure that you have to go, they have to go through all these committees. It's not a one-man decision. Let's say the supervisor of Pemex says, oh, I just want to increase it. No. It goes through a whole process and the whole committees that they have to approve those increase on those contracts. Or they have to rebid them. That's the 2 options that they have on those committees.
I understand. Thank you. Now, moving on to the Fianza, is there currently, any deficit to knowledge on the coverage of performance cost, according to the amounts required by Service Law? There's not.
No, we did an audit after that issue that happened to us in December when we were notified, and we audited all of our contracts, and we verified with legal and with the bonding company to make sure that everything was covered. I just want to be very, very clear on how the bonds get issued and how the bond procedure is. When we get a contract assigned by Pemex to us, and they give us a letter of award, we issue a letter. The procedure is to issue a letter and tell Pemex, listen Pemex, how much money do you want the bond for? What is the wording that you want on the bond? How much is the length of the bond that you need? When Pemex issues a letter back to us and tells us all that information, we automatically give it to the bond company. Then the bond company sends the bond directly to Pemex. We don't get involved anymore because it's electronic bonding, so meaning that the bonding company sends the bond directly to Pemex, and then Pemex reviews it with the bonding company to make sure that everything is matched and clear and everything is set. Because why they do that? One of the reasons they do it directly to the bonding company to make sure that those bonds are real and that they have a guarantee that the bonding company is issuing those bonds. Because there's a lot of money obviously involved in those bonds. So we're not involved in the actual issuing of the bonds. Once we just do the letter, we just transmit it to the bonding company, and they get together. The mistake was done by the Pemex officials because they thought they were using the old law, meaning they only asked for 10% of the first fiscal year instead of asking for a bond for the 3-year contract. So they're the ones that issued the letter mistakenly. When they realized that they issued and made a mistake, then they reissue another letter to us and to the bonding company saying, listen, you got to provide me with this much money and again at this much period, and then we just reissue the next bond, and then the contracts will cover as PMEX requirements. But the mistake was not done by us. It's not like we said, oh, here's the bond for 1 year, and here's, it's a procedure that is in place. And then we have to, when we were asked, and obviously this is a mistake by PMEX officials, and obviously they probably will get an administrative fine. I don't know what the controllers will do. They asked us what really happened, and they wanted to see our paperwork that we sent the letter to PMEX. When did we send it? They wanted to verify all our internal documentation. So they asked us to send that. We provided those documents to the bonding, to the internal PMEX audit. So that's where we at, and that's what we did on that. That is normal in any audit they do when they find something wrong.
I think I should answer the question about, that we're going to ask about had there been any previous audits and investigations that we should get in the past. But apart from the one related to 2010, this is it. You'll be audited all the time anyway. Am I right?
Yeah. So basically, what I do know is they're like 2-3 years behind schedule on audits. So the only thing that they probably audited last year, 2010, they probably audited some of the contracts from 2011 this year, and so on and so on. So they continue auditing every year.
I understand. Now, what are the risks related to this if the PEMEX should find irregularities in the process? Could you lose your contract with PEMEX?
No, the risk that you have is, you have two risks. One risk, if they find irregularities, they can either fine you economically on a money, or they can also fine you in the sense that they won't allow you to bid on the next jobs. But it's not cancellation. They find something really bad that you did, like for example, if you falsify documents, or if you did something that really illegal, or you were caught doing something illegal, they most likely will ban you, and they can ban you for 6 months to I think it's 5 years from bidding on the next processes.
But you don't see that as a risk at the moment at all?
We don't, because we didn't do anything wrong. I mean, we're not the ones that issued that asked for the bond amounts and all that. So I will clarify all that when they ask us. So we don't see any risk.
We'll have to repeat that if you
don't. The amount of money involved in this issue, it's only like $25,000 of cost saving that was created through the 2 months or the 3 months that we're down to not 100% covered.
But you have discussed this with PEMEX, right? So,
yes.
But have you had a response? I mean, has it said this is okay or done over? Or?
Well, like I mentioned, we've been having we're turning our documentation as officially and as legally as when they ask us. But the date that I think we had like 15 working days to turn in the papers. We did everything by the book. We had some verbal conversations with them. They asked us again for some additional documentation. We gave them again. And that's where they are. I think they'll make a decision within the next 30, 60 days. That's my guess. But I don't know. It's up to them when they make a decision on the audit.
I presume that you take some legal advice on this. I mean, what's your advice saying is the likely outcome of this?
That we have no risk and no issues.
All right. So then that's considered. You also probably estimated the worst case potential fine against the company.
We don't see any fines. I mean, because I repeat again, we didn't do anything wrong. We don't see any liability to the company because, like I repeat you the process, we were not the ones issuing the amount of money in the bonds. It was a PMEX. It was 9 different PMEX classes, 9 different contracts. So it's not like also, like we mentioned on the response, it's not like it was only one guy from PMEX making the mistake. And what we do know, we don't have the papers or all that, we're not the only company that had that issue. There's over 45 other contracts from other 45 different companies that had the same issue at that point. It was a confusion between the old law and the new law.
Thank you. Now, moving on from that, I think you pretty much hammered that. I think you actually managed to hammer that point home. So, but clearly, the newspaper has published, might have published erroneous statements. Are you considering legal action against the newspaper?
No, we don't consider any legal action against the newspaper because the newspaper article is very vague. It doesn't. It never says, "Oh, we know for a fact or we have documents to prove it." They say, "Oh, we heard that oceanography is under investigation. We're suspicious of this." They never write out saying, "Okay, yeah, we got this, we know this. Here's the papers, here's this and that." They just hear a rumor on the coffee table and they just publish it.
Fair enough. Last 3 questions coming up. How many contracts does Oceanography currently have with Pemex? I think I know there's a lot.
40 contracts.
How many?
40 contracts. 40 to 41.
Between 42 and 43 contracts, approximately.
No, 40 to 41.
40 to 41. Okay. Thank you. Now, about the 2015 bond and the coupon, this is probably a left field here because it doesn't relate to the case. I suppose you can answer on if you want to. Do you want to comment on the payment on the coupon at all?
It's in process.
It's a process of being paid.
Yes.
All right. It's of course it was of course not paid on the date. Is there any particular reason?
There's receivable issues of getting enough receivables to cover all the payments of the end.
All right. Thank you. Last pre-sent question. Is there any kind of a liability management currently taking place for the upcoming debt maturity?
On the
I think I'll endeavor to interpret that question. I think what the question is that are you preparing for your upcoming refinancing of the 2015 bond?
That is correct.
All right.
We're working we are advanced with the city and the BDOD, and we're trying to figure out. We're not trying to figure out. We already have pretty much a plan in place.
Okay, thank you. Can you take any questions that are not pre-sent?
Yes, of course.
All right, the floor is open, guys. Please state your name and employer before I ask the question. No one?
Yes, good morning. This is Álvaro González from GFP. Good morning, Don Amado. In the local news,
good morning.
It was clear that the press was focusing primarily on Oceanografía, even though it seemed that the Oceano was one of many companies that had these contract qualifications. What's your take of why it was primarily targeted to Oceano and not to any other company mentioned there?
I don't know what really is behind it. I can't get my hands to give you, I have the facts, and I don't want to, how do you say it, start making rumors or something that we don't have hard facts. But, you can guess all the way from competitors to trying to, obviously, we are a very large company that we work for Pemex. We have a lot, we have a lot of contracts and a lot of revenue from Pemex. Obviously, any news when we talk to the newspaper owner, he says, well, our policy right now is anything that has to do with the energy sector, we're going to publish because the subject of the new reform that was just passed in November of last year was still it's a very hot topic on that, and still a very, right now they're going through the process of passing they passed a reform, and right now they're going through the process in Congress to pass the laws. How is this reform? How the laws are going to be applied to this reform? So it's still a very high volatile situation. You know, there's a leftist government which is against it 100%. A leftist party which is really against it 100% of it. So my guess is somebody is noise, you know, it's creating noise. Because everybody knows that all the contracts with Pemex, or the majority of the contracts get audited by the internal audit, and you know, it's not a surprise. That we were caught off guard. That normally we have a group of people in Mexico City that we've hired, which normally most of the newspapers or anybody is about to publish something, they pretty much they contact us and they ask us to revive or to do this and that. We have those checks and controls. In this time, you know, this newspaper article never contacted us. When we contact them, and I have personal meetings with the editor and with the owner, and you know, we told them this is the case, this is what it's about. You know, they allow us to do my reply, which I replied in the news article. And then the last time, what we decided is so there's no more if, buts, or any questions. What we decided ourselves is to hire KPMG and to hire a law firm to do an audit, outside audit as a third party of this case, to make sure that, you know, that what we're saying is correct, and that we're going to publish that audit.
Okay, perfect. And in terms of the audit that is happening with Pemex or with the bonds, is there or could there be any delay in payments from Pemex, or could be at this point in time any future contracts be put on hold, or in general, how is your day-to-day operations and the situation of your working relationship with Pemex at this point?
Well, my working relation with Pemex is normal as usual. I go back and into my statement. This is not our first audit, but this is not like one-of-a-kind audit. These auditors go on and on. The auditors that we just performed, as we are concerned, as we know, because we already notified was it, are related to 2010 contracts that were signed. Now they're going to audit the contracts that were signed in 2011 this year, and so on and so on. So it goes over every year. It's not a one thing. No. As far as we're concerned, we haven't heard anything negative from Pemex telling us, listen, we're upset at you, or we don't know what you're doing, or this and that. Otherwise, what we've been told by Pemex on our last meeting is that they're very pleased with the auditors, that we are one of the best companies that document our contracts, that we're one of the best companies to process all our documentation. And that keeps us at ease, and that keeps us at ease on an audit. And the audit is, and I mentioned again, is not against us, it's against Pemex officials. And obviously, if we are caught doing some illegal stuff, yeah, that will hurt the company. But we're very at ease, because we haven't done any illegal stuff.
Just taking advantage that you are on the line, do you maybe have any preliminary numbers for 2013? Not yet.
I do know we have a meeting on this Friday to go over the figures, but not yet. I do have some indicative numbers, but I would not like to speculate right now. We want to do the Friday meeting, and then we probably release some numbers next week.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Matias Pino from Golden Tree. I have two questions. The first question was basically, what was the cost of extending the fianzas, and if there's any payments pending? And the second question is the receivable delay. No? It seems kind of surprising, no, that a delay in the receivable is sufficient enough to cause a delay in the interest payment, right? So what I wanted to understand is how significant has been the change in days of payables from Pemex, and also what is Oceano's cash balance? Thank you.
Okay. What was the first question? I got the last question, but the first one I couldn't hear you very well.
Yes, the first question was, as part of Pemex's request, you had to extend the duration of the fianzas, right? From 1 year to 3 years. So the question is, what was the total cost of extending the bonds? And if there's any payments pending with regards to that?
Okay. The total cost, I don't know the total cost. I do know that those contracts were less amount of money contracts, meaning they were our more smallest contracts we have in the company. All of the bonds are paid. We pay those within 30 days automatically. So all of those bonds are paid because these were issues in 2010. There were no issues last week or something like that.
Okay, so of all the new contracts? Sorry, please go ahead. So of all the new contracts after 2010 already are with the new norm? There's no more incremental payments expected on the bond side or anything like that?
That is correct. Unless Phoenix increases the amount of money on the contracts, then you do have to issue additional bonds.
Okay, but that is normal standard procedure. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
No, but this issue was in 2010. It was not an issue that it was created in this year. Meaning this issue came in 2010 when the Phoenix guys told us, listen, you need to give me the bond for 10% in 1 year. And then 2-3 months after that, when they realized that was not what the contract said, they asked us for the additional amount of money to be bonded, and they were issued in 2010. So it's not something that we fixed it yesterday. This was fixed in 2010.
Yeah, what I cease to understand though is, I mean, the performance bond that you're giving here is basically you have to have some type of backing, for operation. That's what I understand the bond covers. Now, 2010, assuming you have 3-year contracts, many of those contracts must have been expired. So what is the purpose of charging an incremental cost for performance that has already been delivered?
No, we haven't. There's no incremental cost or anything like that. I want to go back to clarify again. I think I'm not being understood. In 2010, when we got awarded the contracts, we asked Phoenix how much the bond and how the word and all that, and they asked us to deliver a bond only for 1 year. So the bonding company issued for 1 year.
Okay, and that bond covers performance, right?
The performance bond. It's a performance bond. It's only if I don't perform the contract, then they charge me that 10%. 10%. I get cancellation of the contract. So it's a performance bond of the contract. That's what it is. Then when the Phoenix officials realized that they made a mistake on the bond, 2-3 months after first initial bond, they asked us for the additional amount of money and for the additional period. And those were issued at that point.
So if you had a contract that lasted 3 years, it's already expired.
That's correct.
But you still have to pay the performance bond for operations you had performed.
That's correct. And they audited those contracts because of 2010, and the audit, they'll be tax scheduled that far away, and they audited those contracts and they found a mistake at Phoenix. And they asked us to go back to them and tell them what documentation, is it true that Phoenix asked you for the bonds again? When is the papers a year? What is the letter? So we have to document all of the information that Phoenix asked the internal audit. And that's what the bonds, those 9 bonds are issued. But it's not something that we fixed early. It's not something that is something that is being retroactive today.
Okay. Okay, that's understood. And the next question regarding the receivables, I think.
Okay, we've been having some receivable delays last year. Most of it of last year, starting in March, Phoenix started falling some behind on some receivables. My guess, and I don't know, new administration, new procedures. We do know that they have a new procedures in place that they put in place. And this is not a normal situation only with Phoenix. What I do know is the whole government has been withholding some of the payments. I don't know the reason. The last year was pretty bad. This year, we got paid a lot of money in December, and we got paid a lot of money in the first couple of weeks of January. We sorted out all the payments, and that's what we did. And right now we're at a cash position of around $30 million, and we have receivables to factor close to 50. That's what we have today.
Okay, and can you please clarify what are the days of receivables for Pemex as of now?
This is every day. What's the length? They're on 130 days.
130 days. Okay.
It varies. You know, some of them are 40 days, some of them are 90, some of them go 160. And on average, it's right now, I think it's 130. On Friday, I don't know the exact dates, you know, because we keep a track of what's our receivable dates.
Okay. And if you received a lot of cash payments in December and in January, and you have $30 million of cash, why was the payment delayed? The interest payment?
Because we did have some delays in the 15th of the month, the first couple of weeks of January. We got a lot of money paid, but we paid our factoring loans. So we have to get these receivables approved, and we can't factor invoices unless we have the approval by FEMA. As this was the first, every January it kind of creates the same issue, because every January, you know, it's a new budget, it's a new procedures, everything for the new year. So until they get their budget approved, which most of the time gets approved by Congress by the end of December, and then they make all the procedures, we don't have authorization to factor. Our invoices don't have, how would I say, assigned monies, so we can factor those invoices. So it normally takes us more than 2 weeks. We've been approved this week. My guys have given me the information that we've just been approved close to 50 million.
Okay, and so, sorry for arguing the line, guys, but going to that point, what percentage of your total Pemex invoices do you have under factoring?
Probably close to 70% right now.
Okay.
It varies a lot because there's payments every day, but we normally have an average of around 70% last year, which was our highest number ever. And that's mainly because obviously the delays.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
May I ask a question? Of course. Mr. Yanez, hi, my name is Ramiro Sugrania, producer of Financial Services. We are investors in both of your issues, the 2015 and the 2018. And if I may follow on the previous gentleman's questions, when do you expect to pay the coupon for the 2015?
It's in process. I think it will get done, everything gets done this week or probably early next week. We paid already close to, they already deposited some of the money into the trustee. It's in process.
Okay, so we should expect to get paid either 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the date, but no later than next week, correct?
No later than next week, that's correct.
Okay.
I think by Monday or Tuesday you should be getting they should be transferring, the trustee should be transferring the funds.
Okay. Do you expect this to continue, every coupon payment for the delay to occur on a continuous basis until the maturity on July 16th, 2015?
No, we don't. I mean, let me phrase it. We don't want to delay the coupon payments. I mean, that's one of our priorities. But sometimes we have to make some tough decisions here, whether what's more important to continue the operations, spend all the money on our supplies and all that. And we do have an issue that we found out that January is a very tough month for us. The first week of the January month, it creates a lot of issues. We don't expect any delays on the next coupon payment. So I think, in fact, we are already processing a hedge on the exchange rate for the next coupon payment. So we don't expect any delays on the next one.
Thank you for that. And lastly, do you have any specific plan for your actual, I believe this question was previously asked, I don't know whether the answer was specific. How are you going to somehow roll over your 2015 debt? Do you have any specifics?
Yes, I don't have the specifics to tell you right now, but we do have 3 plans in place that we put with our local banks, with Citi and with BBB. We worked out 3 scenarios, I think we're very comfortable with what we're putting in place. The way we wanted to do this is, we wanted to issue the bond on the Osaka Life, which allowed us to improve our cash flow, which has done that. And the next step was on this first quarter of this year, try to come up with a plan, integrate one of the plans for our 2015 maturity of the 335. So we are in the process. We have been having meetings. Obviously, last week with this newspaper article was a very tough week for us to be able to answer a lot of questions, and obviously not only to you guys, but also our local banks, and trying to figure out what's going on. And we spent a lot of time doing that, so we lost kind of a week. We're going back on track. We have a meeting next week in Cancun with some of the people in the city to already the plan. So we think we have a plan in place, and we probably within the next 45 days, we probably tell you guys what's the ideas that we have.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, your EBITDA, your free cash flow for 2014, that has not changed, the outlook, correct?
No, it has not changed. We think we'll have a very positive cash flow in 2014. That's obviously one of our ideas. My original plan is not try to refinance the whole bond, try to refinance part of it only, and pay part of the coupon. So that's kind of our strategy we have to do. But like I mentioned to you, we're working on some scenarios. We're also expecting some new contracts, and we're expecting to see what we can do with new contracts, etc. So there's a few items on the table that we're going to try to work it out this first quarter.
Okay, so muchas gracias, señor. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
No, thank you.
Any more questions?
Well, Ms. Diana, I think we've actually exhausted all the questions.
Well, I just want to reiterate again that if anybody has any questions or any information you guys need, please contact Jorge or send us an email through the website or try to contact us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
All right. Well, on behalf of the investors that seem to have no further questions, I'd like to thank you for hosting this call. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.